This is Karis Alexander with Deep Truth Media. I just want to say thank you for those that listened to my last audio. It was very lengthy, and I hope I didn't lose some of you on doing that one. But this audio, I wanted to talk about what I mentioned in the beginning of my last audio, which was about civil unrest. This is a very important audio because this is the reason why I do the work that I do with people. Really, it's really to support people through the transformation and shift and the massive changes that we are being thrown into. I want to talk about predictive programming, and I also want to really talk about these energies that are just so astounding right now. It's just, it's breathtaking. I am truly humbled to be participating in this experiment. It simply is an experiment because if we go under the premise, again, this is just a sharing, that we are living within a simulation and our creator has designed the simulation so that we can have this physical experience, the consciousness that is you can have the experience of physicality and the interaction that transpires in this realm in order to raise the quality of your consciousness, that is to evolve to love, not the conditioned love that we experience on this physical plane. It's a very different love. There is no conditions, and it's a very different love than we experience on the physical plane here. And then the objective also is to reduce the amount of entropy, that is to reduce the amount of fear and ego that you experience here. And so we are constantly moving and evolving to higher and higher qualities or states of love. Now, the eternal being that is you, the higher aspect that is you, knows, embodies the true, authentic quality of love that is wanting to express itself through you in this physical dimension. And when we come to know, when you come to know self as eternal being, as pure consciousness, you have the opportunity to come to know yourself at a much deeper level and to be able to have access to the eternal beingness that is you and move into your authenticity. And it is so humbling. It's the only word that I can use. I'm really getting why we all came here and why we are having this experience. And for those in North America, those of us in North America, and those of us who have the opportunity to engage the process of our own unfoldment, that is to really embrace our awakening, really undisturbed. If you look at people like those in Syria, those in places of major distress, like Africa, and people who are starving and people who are really under distress and survival at the lowest level here, they don't have the opportunity that we have, and yet we engage in our pettiness here. For those of us in North America, for those of us who have the luxury of sitting down and listening to audios like this or videos, and engaging our own unfoldment, or just observing those who are engaging their unfoldment and wishing that we could do that. The opportunity is always there, is always presenting itself to you. That is the only reason for you to be here, is to embrace your own unfoldment. Truly. And so the planet is currently going through this dimensional shift, right? So for us to shift with this planetary shift, we have to focus on raising our vibration, our frequency level. The planet operates or has a frequency, and they talk about the Schumann resonance and frequency, which is the frequency at which the planet is at, and it's raising, it's rising. And as the planet's frequency is rising, so is ours. And the planet has a home frequency, and we have a home frequency. And so we need to come to recognize what our home frequency is, and to be able to oscillate and vibrate at that frequency all the time. That's the opportunity. And so as we focus on our own unfoldment and we raise our vibration levels, what we are actually having to do is release all the blockages in our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. And when we do that, then the shift in frequency will uplift us to higher planes of consciousness, that we have access to more realms of consciousness that we coexist on, other than the bandwidth, the normal bandwidth in which we experience in this physical dimension, this frequency band called normal, which I've talked about already. It's a narrow, single bandwidth, third dimensional sliver bandwidth called normal. And it's really a governance, a form of governance that we adhere to here. It restricts us. It's very restricting. It's very, it's finite system, but it's very restrictive, almost like a prison. And for most people, it is a unfulfilling, soul-wrenching experience. And more people are coming to realize that. And in order for consciousness to evolve itself, it de-evolves itself. And so the game, the nature of this game here is to be able to evolve yourself, to raise your level of frequency, or raise your frequency, come to know your true self, and learn the nature of this game. And humanity is in a very unfortunate situation in that it's forgotten who and what it is. And we are experiencing here, truly, on this third dimensional realm, the lowest aspect, the very lowest. We haven't even got to the lowest yet, aspect of who and what we are. And so it is going to get pretty dark here. But that needs to happen, I gather, before we can seriously evolve to higher and higher realms. That's the nature of this game. And so that is the predicament that we in. And the other unfortunate situation is that humanity does not know why it is here and what its real purpose is. And you must come to understand and know why you are here and what is your real purpose for being here. Because unless you understand that, you're really not in a position to play this game in a way in which you're going to win. You're really at the whim of the system, because the system is designed to keep you from that knowing of why you're here and what is your purpose for being here. So anyway, we are surrounded. We are surrounded by so many influences in our environment. You know, others ask or insist that we behave differently in order to fit into this normal, narrow bandwidth. And really it's designed to affect others' experiences in positive ways. So we are bombarded with rules and laws and expectations that are imposed by others, and almost everyone seems to have opinions about how we should behave. But it's not possible for us to focus on our own unfoldment when we're focused on others' needs and desires, and based on these imposed belief systems that we carry. So if you're not able to focus on your own unfoldment of where you are, in terms of where you are and where you want to be, if you're easily influenced by outside forces, it's very difficult to even embrace your own unfoldment. Again, you're living in a system that doesn't support your own unfoldment. And so it's a very fringe perspective, a very fringe idea that you would even want to embrace that as an option when it's not being told to you that this is what you're here to be doing, because that's the nature of this physical world system, is that most people get their information and are fed their reality through the media. And when the media or someone outside of them, an external authority, says that they believe as an external authority, someone of power, feeds them certain information, they buy into that, and so we're not being told that our unfoldment is really what we're to be doing here. See the predicament that we are in. So often many people are pulled in one direction or the other to please others, only to discover that no matter how hard they try, they cannot move into a pleasing direction, either for the other people or for themselves. And so this is truly the predicament that we are in. And so many are being pulled in so many directions. And so when that happens, your path basically to where you want to be, if you even know what that is, usually gets lost. And that's the nature of this system. They want you to get lost, not knowing who and what you are, not knowing what your path is. The system is not designed for you to embrace, again, your own unfoldment. And so the key thing here is that you must become your own authority. You know, it's at the highest eternal level that you are, the eternal being that is you. You know that you are your own authority. You respect and honor yourself with ferocious intent. It is an absolute quality that you carry as an eternal being. You live in a constant state of paradise as an eternal being. You are impeccable by nature. You love freely. There are no conditions on your ability to love. You are magnificent. You are a creator, God. You are a creator of worlds, and your source, your creator, has endowed you with every tool you need to support your evolution in this realm. You have simply forgotten, but you are remembering. Especially if you're here, you are really remembering. And so, as I spoke about earlier, the energies are just absolutely astounding. Now, for many, that will not be the case. Those energies will be very jarring, very disturbing, and really causing a lot of disruption in people's lives. But depending on the amount of work that you have done, the more that you embrace your own unfoldment, the easier it will be to integrate these energies, and to allow them to unfold into the gnosis, the inner gnosis, the wisdom that is you, so that it can blossom, so that you can embrace your own unfoldment. So there's going to be those who will not be embracing their own unfoldment, and these energies will just be so disturbing that it will cause a lot of intense pain and suffering. And so that is why I do what it is that I do to support people, is really the emotional body work, and that's what I explained in my last audio, because I've learned some tools, and I have learned a way in which to be within the system and to operate within the system and have a different experience. You know, being able to access these other realms. You know, the first realm that and these are just metaphors, right? there, because we're really talking about is that it's just an information stream. It's data, and the pure consciousness that is you is interfacing with this physical reality, and the interface is the brain, the mind, and the body, right? And it has constraints. And but when we come to know ourselves, we can transcend the constraints of physicality and come and be able to oscillate or vacillate in these other realms. And so the plane of absolute is the plane of stillness. This is beyond time and space. And on this plane, the universe is only information that can be read and altered. And from this plane, the physical life is a hologram of this information, this physical life experience. And so the eternal being that is you interfaces, again, with your physical reality. You have access to this plane through the physical heart, which I talked about in my last audio. Again, the physical heart is a vehicle, the doorway in which you can come to know your higher self, the eternal being that you are. A lot of people say that consciousness resides in the mind. It doesn't. Consciousness, and they won't tell you that. They'll tell you that because most people do not know how to access or even know that they are their eternal don't know who their eternal beingness is, and so they will continue to tell you that you access consciousness, the consciousness that's you through the mind. But when enough people are accessing consciousness through the heart, the eternal beingness through the heart, they will have to backtrack and stop feeding you that lie, because it is simply a lie. So the plane that I spoke about, the plane of creation, again, it's just a metaphor. It's another realm that the frequency that is me gets to interact with. And this plane of creation is one that I'm having such an exquisite time. This is the plane in which will support the evolution of consciousness that is you to traverse this physical dimension. This plane brings order to chaos in the world, and we will do that through becoming co-creators of the world in which we want. So, things like visualization, the law of attraction, they work on this plane. And it is possible to connect to this plane directly through the quality of consciousness that is you when you are able to raise your frequency. That is to do the emotional clearing. Yes, I cannot emphasize that enough. You're not going to be given these bits of truths through the mainstream media. The power control force do not want you to be able to access the plane of creation, because that plane is the plane in which you are nurtured. The beingness that is you is nurtured, because when you ask for whatever you ask for, it is given. And this is the plane in which you co-create your life, the world in which you want. This is the plane in which you come to realize and recognize and remember that you are a creator being, that you create worlds, and that your source has endowed with all the tools that you need in order for you to create the experience that you want to have in this physical realm. That's why you came here, is to create as the eternal being that you are. And you have simply forgotten the power, the magnificence that you hold as a creator being. And you must come to know and remember the truth of this, and you must harness the tools that you've been given so that you can create a world in which you want, not the world in which is being spoon-fed to you. And that is to stay in the positive energies, to not feed into the negative energies and the narrow band of normal that's being spoon-fed to you, that is only designed to serve a few. Okay? And so anything that exists in the physical reality first appears in the plane of creation. So we are creating in this inorganic simulation what the power control force is wanting to unfold here. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And so we must take back our power. We must take back our authority and not engage at this level. It is simply a level in which, again, humanity is experiencing the lowest aspect of itself simply because it is forgotten. And the opportunity is for us to remember the eternal beingness, the eternal nature being that we are, so that we can take back and reclaim our capability to co-create here a world in which we want a utopia. A utopia which stems from the knowingness of who we are as we rest in our paradise state. So when we talk about the civil unrest that's coming, I did a blog post, which I'll post back in November, connecting this new movie that came out called, I think, Wolverines or something. I may have the name wrong. You can check that blog post. I'll put in the description. And the connection that there we will probably see civil unrest in the United States in 2016, I believe. But I just want to show you how predictive programming is used in this narrow bandwidth of normal that we experience here in this physical dimension. So what is predictive programming? Hollywood is the magician's wand, holy holy, which has been used to cast a spell on the unsuspecting public. Yes, most people don't understand that our reality is created and spoon-fed to us, well scripted, well choreographed by the power control force. So things or ideas which would otherwise seem as bizarre, vulgar, undesirable, or impossible are inserted into films in the realm of fantasy. Yes, I've been talking about this new movie that's coming out on the summer solstice, June 21st, 2013, called World War Z, again. So when viewers watch these types of films, and World War Z is about zombie apocalypse and flesh eating and disasters, it's all a disaster film. The mind of the person who watches these films, such as these disaster type films or apocalypse types movies, end of the world scenarios, they're left open to suggestion, and the conditioning process begins. Yes, where the consciousness that is you is so vulnerable, it's so susceptible to being manipulated. That's why the power control forces got away with what they've gotten away with for so long. So these same movies, which are designed to program the average person, can give the discerning viewer a better understanding of the workings and the plan of the world agenda. Yes. So we have a sense of what's coming. We can just look at the films and films and movies that are coming out. We can look to the media and the stories that are playing out on the physical world stage and know where we are moving in terms of our direction as a species. You can look to the media to give you a worldview of where we are going. And so there's no secrets here. You have an understanding of where things are going, and so you must take things into your own hands. So, predictive programming is used by the power control force, and it's the power of suggestion, using the media of fiction to create desired outcomes. That's what they do. It's a very important piece here. And so what happens now for us is we must take matters into our own hands. And as we move into this period of civil unrest, it's not to put you in a state of fear and paralysis. It's basically to make you deal with the reality in which you're dealing with. But it's just a catalyst. It's simply a catalyst, because we do have constraints as a mind-body construct, or consciousness experience itself in the mind through the mind-body. And again, what we are here to do is to raise the quality of our consciousness. And we do it through the mind-body construct. And pain and suffering seems to be the catalyst in which propels us to embrace our unfoldment, or to de-evolve more and more into the de-evolutionary path of consciousness, into more fear and ego. And so it really determines on how bad it gets for you, how far you have to go into your pain and suffering before you do something. And I believe, my sense is, that for a lot of people, it's going to be really, really, really harsh. That they're going to be at such a low level, they'll have to get to such a low level of their own personal unfoldment that will propel them to make massive change. Unfortunately, there's not enough people embracing their own unfoldment. I mean, my pain threshold, my suffering threshold is very low. I would say that most of humanity's pain and suffering threshold is very high. And so that's why, and I only say that because I started my journey about 15 years ago, and I was embracing my journey based on my own personal experiences that I was having, and they weren't, now I look back in retrospect, I mean, they were huge for me, but in comparison to what people are going to be going through and having to then embrace their unfoldment, it's nothing comparison. And so, even for me, I've been able to wake up into my gnosis, into the truth of who I am, simply out of my own personal pain and suffering, which was, again, my pain threshold and suffering threshold was fairly low in comparison to what people are experiencing now. And that propelled me. And so I really can't even comprehend what people are willing to put up with, because it's more intense now, and it's just going to get more and more intense. And so many people are leaving this planet. They're just letting go and vacating this existence. And so many will do that. And for those of us who are going to stay here, we need to be able to find ways in which we can be here and have a different experience, because there's a glorious unfoldment, there's a magnificence that is unfolding within this realm, and the nature of this game is really to embrace your own unfoldment and to have the glorious experience that is possible for you, regardless of what's happening to everyone else on the external reflective, that is still immersed and enamored by this 5 sense reality perspective, normal bandwidth of normality. There is such a glorious opportunity for each and every one of us to embrace our own unfoldment. That's why we're here. Okay, so the ingredients for civil unrest are certainly around us in our society. So what will the 21st century civil unrest look like? It'll be very different from that of the 60s, because it won't be racially motivated. Instead, it will be politically and economically motivated. Instead, the mobs of people will be composed of angry and unemployed people of all races. Yes. And so the new style of rioting will target symbols of wealth and power. Persons driving expensive cars, high-end shops, expensive restaurants, and the well-dressed are likely to be targeted. Any large store or shop that the mobs can easily break into is likely target. This will include shopping malls and big box stores. So living in a rural area or a district of an urban area, such as a middle or working class suburb, is a good way to be safe. If you have to work in a metro area, try living in a small town or suburb within easy commuting distances. So yes, big cities is going to be where a lot of where you don't want to be, which is why I moved to the rural. I live in a rural area now, simply because I knew it was coming, and I had to take the necessary steps in order to protect myself. And so, but that only comes through my own unfoldment. That only came through learning the truth of who and what it is, or the world in which we live in, coming to know the truth of who I am, and wanting to protect myself, wanting to be in a position to defend myself. And so that's why I do a lot of what I do in terms of my work with people, and why I share at this level. You have to understand that we are going to be under massive, massive surveillance. I was in Vancouver just last month, and I just got a bill because there's a new toll. And this toll has no, it's not like a tolls in the United States where you go up to the toll booth and you pay someone some money and you move on. This toll, you don't even know that your license plate is being scanned. I mean, you cannot see anything. I mean, you don't even stop at a toll. You just drive over the bridge. And there are major, major cars driving over the bridge. And I thought, wow, the power of technology, that we don't even know that. So I got this bill, and I thought, for sure, they wouldn't catch my license plate. And they did. And it was just like, wow, these surveillance tools are just powerful. You know, YouTube is a surveillance tool. You know, just as we post all of our information, our sharings here, it's a surveillance tool. So be careful about what you're sharing in these YouTubes. The reality shows or reality TV is designed to get you to start sharing all your business and feeling comfortable doing that, because you're going to be under massive surveillance. People are going to be under massive surveillance. So look at your cell phones. That's a surveillance tool. You can be tracked. Look at the GPS systems that are now going into cars. They're surveillance tools. These are not tools to help you. These are tools to help Big Brother or the power control force monitor your habits and the internet. The World Wide Web is a surveillance tool. These are all tools of governance. This is the next phase of governance. So don't be fooled that these are tools to help you in your life. No, these are surveillance tools. They use the data from all these tools to monitor your behavior, and they develop a virtual you. They have a database of all the people in this world who use these technologies, and they harvest your data, and they make a virtual you so they know who you are. So don't be fooled by the system. And if you're using a cell phone, I really encourage you not to use cell phones, because if you're embracing your own unfoldment, you cannot use a cell phone. There is absolutely no way you will be able to raise your frequency using a cell phone. I cannot use cell phones. I've tried. I cannot use them. They're harsh. It's a harsh technology. Even computers, you have to be careful about how much you're on a computer. So it's important to be in rural areas, out in nature. But if you are serious about your own unfoldment, you cannot be using a cell phone. I'm sorry. That is one of the most harmful devices to lower your frequency. It lowers your frequency. And quite frankly, why I think that most people are texting now? I noticed that trend that a lot of people are texting. It's because people don't even recognize that putting that cell phone up to their ear is really hurting them. They can't think straight. And so texting makes it easier, but you're still engaged in all those frequencies, that negative, the low vibrational frequencies. That cell phone will kill you. But anyway, kind of went off on a tangent here. But these are all surveillance tools. And so the key here is when I share this about the civil unrest that is coming, it's not to, it's just to bring awareness to an issue that, or an idea that's being proliferated through the media, and is coming to a theater near you. And it's not to scare you. It's hopefully to get you to prepare yourself. Don't fall victim or prey to the system and think that it'll just all work itself out. It won't. You have to take matters into your own hands. And your sovereignty, you must become the authority, and your sovereignty is paramount. It's important. You have to come to know that, and you have every single tool. So Horus has created every tool necessary to support you through this transformation and shift. And so you have to truly understand that you are living in a sea of abuse. This is an abusive system, and it is designed to take you out. It's not designed to uplift and encourage your unfoldment. That is your job. And you must not fall into the abusive type of nature, that a quality of character that is being imposed upon you. You must rise above that, the abuse, and you can only do that when you know the truth of who you are. And then you won't attract abusive people. You won't attract abusive type of situations in your life. You know, and then you, as a co-creator of the world in which you want, you create positive, affirming life experiences with positive, affirming people who can support your evolution, who can nurture your existence, and you can nurture their existence. You are an aspect of creation. You are a creator being, the highest potential of who and what you are. You are respected. You are honored. And you are to bring that honoring and that respect into this dimension, and to hold that with ferocity, in a reverence of love for others, and a reverence of love for yourself. I thank you so much for tuning in. Don't settle for normal. Embrace your own unfoldment. I thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out here with me. Again, it's a glorious time to be here. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the ride.